We're here. We're starting. Hello. 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 Welcome. Thank you for joining. Early birds. We usually don't get anyone on here for a little bit. Hi. Welcome. What's on your mind today? All right. What have we had happen this week? Have we had anything fun happen? We got a new podcast coming out on C-Suite Cyber. That'll be fun. Um, had a really good video. So I know we had a ton of questions coming out recently about what type of hardware you should get if you're looking at purchasing. Hey, Kaylor, I just saw you in the Discord channel. I'm pretty sure that was you. Yeah, so a lot of questions about what type of computer people should get, laptop, desktop, whatever. So I put out a video discussing that. I guess in summary, don't worry about graphics cards unless you're a gamer. Most of the time, it's just CPU, VM, or CPU, RAM, and hard drive space are the big things there. Um, Other than that, it's whatever. So you can get a pretty good system pretty cheap, and the reason why I put that up too is TryHackMe is pretty great. We used that last week. Their attack box just sucks. It's horrible. Their content's great. Their attack box sucks. So if you don't have a really good system, you can't use their cloud system. Hack the Box, on the other hand, has a great one. They just don't have as much blue team content as TryHackMe. So that's why, right? Want some people want to know what to do. Some people want to try to figure out how to get their hands on stuff, which I highly recommend, anyways. That is the biggest thing missing I've seen in interviews. People just can't talk you through stuff, and the only way to be able to do that is to get in there and get messy. Glad it was you and not some other person. It's kind of awkward when you're like, "Hi, I think I know you. Aren't you so and so?" And they're like, "Nope, that's not me." And then it becomes an awkward situation. So I'm glad I was right in this case. Um, yeah, so that video is out. I have another one coming out next week. I already forgot what it was on. It's on something good. What is it on? Note taking. Another note taking video, I think is what it is. Um, so that's good. That's some good stuff. Yeah. So other than that, if you're on here today, you get some say on what we're going to cover. I was thinking some more blue team, some SIM analysis, because that's a staple of all these SOC folks that are on the channel that are popping in. But Kaylor, if there's anything you want to check out, let me know. Happy to cater to you, Mr. Early Bird. But otherwise, we can dive into investigate some badness in, I think, Splunk again is this one. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get that situated, and then we can get to having some fun. All right, here we go. I'll go ahead and keep chat up here as well, so I can see if anyone asks questions. So feel free. Otherwise, we can get going. I do probably need to correct whatever you're seeing of me. So let me fix that. I don't even see. Can you see me on camera? Surely you can see me on camera. Let's see. Usually there's like, layout. That's what I'm looking for. I'm like, where is my layout? Let's see. I think it's picture in picture. No, we don't want that one. We don't want that one. Every time I hop in this tool, they change something. So I guess I can move over a little and center, but I thought there was a way to crop my video feed. Technology is so hard sometimes. I don't know what to tell you. There used to be a really cool one where it's just like picture in picture, and it would show the whole frame go in as like a rectangle. But not today, maybe. Let's see what else. I'm clicking all the buttons over here. You can't see what I'm doing because it's cool stuff behind the scenes. But I'm trying. I'm trying to get it to work. All right. I think we're maybe a little bit screwed on what to do here. All right. We'll just rock this. If I was cool, I'd actually sit with myself centered on the camera, and then we wouldn't have an issue. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Hey, thank you, the rich. Always DNS. Always DNS. That's like in restaurants, they're like, 2 minutes, 2 minutes is coming up. Nothing ever takes 2 minutes. I think there were some DNS issues this week somewhere. Was it AWS and some other stuff went down? Good times. Always something. All right, so let me spin up my VM here. Well, my VM spun up. Let me get my VPN up and running. So, in case you don't know, if you're new to the show, I sound like a moron sometimes because I work a full day. I was actually up since 4:30 this morning. It is now 6 o'clock, so you may get a few delusional things, which is it's okay. It's not a problem. We can deal with it. It just makes it more entertaining, perhaps. And yeah, so we just do what we can. All right, we'll go ahead and start this machine up. So it looks like this one's really in IR type thing. So we're just like tracing down activity, which is a really good thing to practice. For those of you who aren't familiar with working within a SIEM, if you're looking at becoming a SOC analyst, this is going to be your vehicle that you ride when you're at work. And yeah, you can do a lot of stuff here. It's just a log aggregator. And you'll be in there no matter what type of environment. You typically have a SIEM if it's large enough for SIEM. Not every environment has this, but the bigger ones, more mature companies do for sure. And you have to learn it. All of them have different syntax in order to be able to find stuff. So it's kind of like a search engine for security logs, I guess. $8,000 beds made it too hot for their billionaire owners' sleep needs. Is that a thing? I thought you had to have like if you're rich, you can get one of those super cooling beds. Um, you know, and just cool, so you're turning into an ice cube. That's what I like. I like the cooling beds because I like it nice and cold at night. All right, let's see. So before we move, blah blah blah, we got a VPN. We got an IP. We're gonna have to connect here. Let's see if it gives us a password. We got IT department. We have HR department. We have marketing. Classic people getting into trouble. All right, so we got a couple of questions about how to use the SIM, which is cool. I wish a lot more companies did like hands-on stuff. Like you see that in pen testing a lot, where you actually have to do like a CTF or like something to prove your skills. Where a lot of times, especially tier one, they won't do that. They're just like ask you, "Hey, what service is on port 80 traditionally, or what port's Telnet on?" Stuff like that, and you don't really get to show hands-on skills, which kind of sucks, especially for people who aren't really good at memorizing stuff. They're better with hands-on. Like I'm much better hands-on. What are you gonna do though? Got to play the game. All right, so let's see if we can't log on to this. Hopefully it's on port 80. Let's see. The rich. Is this Richard? Let's see. Splunk. How many people have used Splunk so far? Has anyone? The expensive Splunk. That's always like the downside of it. It costs so much money. So you really only see it in large enterprises. People pay out of control money for this thing. All right. So, first question. Also, if you are following along with me today, feel free to stop and ask clarifying questions if you need help working on your query. We can definitely take a pause and assist you getting where you need to be. That's what I'm hoping these kind of turn into, where people are following along to get that hands-on experience and get a chance to work with someone who's done this. So you can ask questions where typically you're just kind of learning in a vacuum, like I did when I got into cybersecurity, and you're just kind of guessing what it's like. But when you have someone you can actually ask, it makes it a little bit easier. So props to all those people hopping in the Discord server or asking questions on YouTube. Hopefully it'll help. Huntress and Ninja, like Binary Ninja, which Ninja? And I have yet to use Huntress, but I've heard good things about Huntress. I have a fan named Rich, or a friend named Rich. I think he uses Huntress at his shop. All right, so we're gonna hop in Splunk. We're gonna try to figure out how many logs are in the month of March 2022. So there's probably some other way to do this. I'm gonna do it the way I learned back in the day, which is you just do a blanket query and we'll do star wildcard, give me all the things. And then we need to do a date and time range. Maybe trying to see if they had like where we could pick a month. I don't think so. I think we have to give it actual range, date range. So we'll do that. What was it again? March 2022. Okay. So we need to say 3, not 13, 3, March 1st. Then we just need to change this to a 2. And then we'll do 3. I was about to do that little nursery rhyme, 30 days, have September, April, June, and November. But don't need to do that. Do need to show my skills there. And when we do this, we should, when we hit search, we should get a count of the number of logs. So we got quite a bit here, 13,959. I think this was more than we had last week with whatever we were doing. 13,959. I maybe screw up the number. No, I was right. I'm like dyslexic or something. All right, so it's a pretty easy one. So kind of explaining that. So over here on the right in Splunk, you have the ability to adjust your time and date range. So you can even go down to the second and millisecond here. And when you're in a SIEM searching, time is going to be your best filter that you have available. And it narrows down the amount of time that your SIEM is having to search around for logs that match whatever your query is, right? Because as you get better, you're going to have a more sophisticated query. And the more you're having your SIEM do, the longer it's going to take, right? In these environments, something you don't know until you get on the job is like here, there's not that many logs. But when you get into a real world, you're talking about millions, maybe every second, every minute. It just depends on how big your shop is. And depending on how much hardware you have or how it's configured, if you're doing like say a full month search for something, it could take 30 minutes, it could take an hour. If they let you, sometimes they constrain you and say, hey, if your query takes longer than 5 minutes, we're cutting it, we're not allowing you to run it. So that's just something to consider as you get in a real environment. You'll learn how to really narrow down those searches so they perform faster. You focus more on performance when you get uh, in an actual role. Where in these labs, it doesn't really matter. Like I could do search all the time, and it's not going to take any longer, just because you have maybe like a a few 10,000 logs here. So it's not really going to be crazy. Everything's in hot storage, so it's fast. Where if you're doing it in a month, they have this whole thing where they say so many logs are in hot storage, so much is in warm, so much is in cold, and what that means is like the cooler you get in on the temperature scale, the slower the access is. So if it's cold, you may not even be able to access it immediately. You may have to like wait a day or wait an hour before it shifts it into a different area so that you can actually search it. And the reason you typically have like cold storage is for like long term storage and audit and compliance reasons, right? So, for instance, most places are under a policy that states they have to keep logs for at least 12 months. So, they may keep stuff and hot and warm for 12 months, and then year after year they just shift everything to cold, because you never know. The reason you typically maintain a little bit longer is you never know. Um, sometimes bad guys are in the environment for longer than a year. I think the average at one point was like over 6 months before they're found, and that's the average, right? So it could be way longer, and you just want to be able to have the ability to go back in check to see how they got in to begin with and what all they did. Otherwise, you're guessing. You would just say, "Hey, my logs, we just got like when they started encrypting everything, would say ransomware, but we missed all the enumeration part, the initial access part, all that because our logs disappeared. They fell off because of the time frame." So that's some stuff to think about that you wouldn't normally know unless you work in the environment. You just it's different perspective out there. Welcome to the stream, folks. If you're just joining us, feel free to ask questions in chats. Feel free to tell me how your day is, how your week is, what you've been learning. It's a fun one. What have you been learning this week? All right, let's go check out the next question here. We're in Splunk playing today. There seems to be an imposter account observed in the logs. What is the name of the user? So, one thing I'd encourage people to start doing whenever they go to answer questions, because a lot of your investigation is driven by the questions, driven by a hypothesis, much like Hunt is. You have a hypothesis, and you seek out to prove that hypothesis or disprove that hypothesis, and start with a new one. So, where I'm going with this is we look at this and we need to have kind of a really good idea of where we should search to find this information that they're asking for here. So, what I mean by that is we have a whole bunch of different logs that have different sets of information. And if we don't really know where to look, it's more like a needle in a haystack than anything, right? Because you could have PowerShell logs, sys logs, process logs, web application logs, firewall logs, whatever, DNS logs. There's all kind of logs, and we need to know kind of roughly where to search. And yeah, so part of your journey as a SOC analyst or a potential SOC analyst is to start understanding what logs have what information, because questions like this come up all the time, right? It could be, "Hey, we saw this user doing bad stuff. Tell me what other systems he was logged into during this time frame," or "Tell me what else this user did." And you have to say, "Okay, how do I find that information? What logs should I look in?" Because there are specific logs you would look into. So for instance, this case, when I look at it, it says, there's a specific user observed in the logs, and we have to figure out who he is. So when I think about it, we have a couple of options here that are common. I don't know what's in this environment yet because I haven't looked. But when I just first start to think about it, I say, okay, so process logs would have users in it because they do. We have 4624s, which are authentication logs, which is probably where I would go. That's if you're authenticating on a domain, those should pop up as they're communicating with the domain controller. But 4624s would also be local as well. So it would show someone logging in with NTLM credentials. So that's a good option. We have PowerShell logs. It should show what user is running what command as well. But probably the one that is going to tell us what we need to know is probably going to be our user logs that I just mentioned. So our 4624s. So we'll start there, see if our information is in there, and then we'll move forward. Now, we do have a bit of information here, right? So we have 9 users specified. So that helps. So if we see anything else besides these 9 users, we need to pay attention. We also need to keep in mind that there may be service accounts or other types of accounts in the environment, and those may come up, and we'll have to differentiate between what they're asking and maybe those service accounts. But they may not exist because this is a made up world and they could do whatever they wanted with them. So let's go ahead and get started with this. I know that was a lot for you. Ask questions if you would like. I am here for you. All right, so now that we know, we want to get to 4624s, which are authentication logs. We want to quickly identify whether there's a unique username in there. So we have to craft our query to be just that. So we can say, all right, let's start with looking at event code 4624. That's the specific field for our event. Next, let's do look at unique names only, because we have lots and lots of logs here. So I'm going to assume they want us to stick to the month of March. So we have almost 14,000 logs we need to go through. So we're not going to scroll through all 14,000 looking for this user, right? So we need a quick way to do that. So we're going to use, I guess we could use stats. That's probably the easiest function to use in Splunk here. So let's start with that. All right. And I'm telling you this so you can start thinking about what you're doing before you do it. Everything in cybersecurity, um, and maybe IT in general. I'm not a typical IT guy. I'm a cybersecurity guy. But like even pen testing, you want to have an idea of what you're trying to do before you do it, because you're going to shape your activity beforehand, right? There's prep time to do that. So start thinking about it. Even coding. You want to know what you're trying to do before you actually do it. All right, so we're going to say event code, and I know this is the field name, or it should be. It looks like here they have event ID instead, um, because that's what it is in the environments I've worked in. What's up, Haram? Welcome back. What's funny is that's not actually in here. Let's look at extracted fields and see if it's in here. So usually it's event code, and it's not in here. So event ID is another name for it. So we'll have to go with event ID actually. So this is what I'm talking about. All your fields are extracted in Splunk over here on the side. So I was looking for event code that doesn't exist. Event ID does, but we only see one in here, and it's 4688. Those are process creation logs. So the logs I would be targeting don't even exist in this environment. What are you going to do? Happens sometimes. So now we have to change our tactic in terms of how we're looking for this logs, because what I would typically look for, which exists on pretty much every Windows system, hasn't gotten pulled into the Splunk instance. So we got to pivot a little bit. That's fine. All right. So the next thing we want to look for is, all right, what field in this log 4688s, because I did bring them up, these are process creation logs, what field would have our username? And we can see it right here. And I am going to zoom in because I realize some of you folks might not be able to see what I'm talking about. Usually I zoom in for you, but let me know um, in the comments. Is this considered comments? Let me know in chat. That's chat, not comments. This is me becoming crazy. Wait. Let me know in chat if you can't see my screen. I'll zoom in for you. I want to make sure everyone can see what I am talking about. All right, so let's look through here and see if we can find our username field, which it should be in here. And we do, we see it right here. So, excuse me, water break. So we are going to craft our query to take into account what we're this specific log type here. It's called adapting. Okay, you got to be adaptable. All right, so we're going to search all logs, but we want to stats count by username. And what this is going to do is it's going to count how many logs are associated with this specific field, and the field we selected was username. And this is going to help us kind of diff what we're looking for here. We're looking for someone trying to be an imposter, and I think I see it pretty quick. So it's probably this one here. So Amelia, it looks like there's a one there. It's what's that called? It's called is it stomping? I'm thinking time stomping. It's not name stomping. It's not spoofing. What's the word? I don't remember. I'll think about it in a second. So, anyways, I think this is our imposter. As you can see down here, we did have a system account, which is pretty normal. That's not unusual. But actually, let's diff these here. So we have Amelia. So we got someone from marketing that got in trouble. We got Bell, also marketing. Chris Fort. That's one that's new. So we don't. Oh, Chris right here. That's probably Chris Fort. Excuse me. Diana's there. James, Katrina. I don't know how to say that. Moen? Moin? I don't know. I'm not even going to try. Deepak and Haroon. Okay. So we looked it up. Now we want to say, what's the name of the user? This is the name. Easy. Which user from HR department was observed to be running scheduled tasks? Okay, so here's another fun question for us to tackle. Welcome again. I'm just trying to randomly just make sure people have all the questions they have any question they have answered. So I keep checking in. I don't even know if the number of users have changed. I'm not really paying attention. But if you're new, make sure to drop some questions. If you're not subscribed to the channel or in the Discord, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to do that. And if you're not a member of our Discord server, do that and you can ask whatever question you want. It's probably the easiest way. I know my co-host for C-Suite Cyber was in there answering questions today. So thank you, AJ. Thank you for answering some questions. And there's some other of my friends in there as well that are more than happy to assist people and give their perspective, right? In cybersecurity, we all had different paths into it. So everyone has a different story of what they think is best because they're probably going to tell you what worked for them. And it's going to be up to you to figure out what will work better for your specific situation. So don't take anything any of us says literally or like directly or do it exactly, and don't think critically about your life and what would work better. Make sure to always consider your own life circumstances. That's all I'll say about that. Okay, so next question. So we're looking for scheduled tasks done by the HR department. So we have a couple of options here. We only have 4688, so process creation logs. There are specific scheduled tasks logs, but they do not exist in this environment during this time frame. So they're not going to be useful. But scheduled task commands, sched task is the name of the utility, can be identified in process creation logs. So let's go see if we can find that command being executed. We could add a little flair here and put a list of the HR department users in there and say one of those users have to match. But I suspect that we'll be able to find this pretty readily. If not, we'll add a list of them and narrow down the search even further. So we'll say, actually, I don't want any of this here. I'll save this. We might use this in a second. But Just do tasks, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Oh, it's not in there. Interesting. Nothing during March, really. Maybe we need to. I did something the other day where I had to use wildcards to do stuff. Yeah. I guess it doesn't do keyword searches. Usually, you used to be able to just do keyword search in Splunk where you can do a partial and it'll look for it. But whatever. This is what we're looking for here. This is the Windows utility that you can create a scheduled task with. So this is exactly what we're looking for. We have 87 events here. And what we can do with it is we can narrow it even further. And that's the process name. What I want is the command line more than anything. So we'll put a star here. Same amount. And what we want probably is we want to extract the command line field, perhaps. There's only 5 of them. And we probably want to extract the user. So what I mean by that is we can get pretty fancy with I was about to say SolarWinds. This isn't SolarWinds. We can get pretty fancy with Splunk in that we don't always have to look at logs. Like I usually start there to identify what I'm trying to extract, and then I modify my query so that I can find those items much faster and look broader. So what I mean by this is we have 87 events just with scheduled task in it, but we really don't care about all these fields here, right? We just want to know what user did this thing. And so we can do that by tabling out results, or just even doing stats if we wanted to. So we could say, we'll try table first. And we can say, we could do stats, but we'll table. I don't really care about time, but I do care about username. And I care about, let's see, probably process name and command line. And so now we have all this information. What we could also do is see how there's a lot of blank command lines in here. We may want to narrow it down where we're only looking at logs where there is something in the command line field. So that may be of interest. Otherwise, we've got to scroll through 5 pages of logs. So let's do that. Schedule tasks, star, and we could do an and here probably. I always forget what syntax it is. No, we would do command line. I work in so many different technologies. It's ridiculous. So I always have to remember how to do the proper syntax. We could say not equal this, probably is what we want. There we go. Yeah, I was just finicky. I was just playing with the logic here. Before I just said it could take anything, but that's going to include all of our blank ones. What I did was specifically say, hey, we want all the logs where a command line is not blank, which is what I'm saying with the quotes that are empty. So we help narrow that down. So as you can see, now we're down to 38, a much more manageable situation. What does it say? Third and manageable? Isn't that like a football term? I don't know. Anyways, I don't know about this foosball. Let's see. So we're looking for someone from HR. So we're looking for a Haroon, Chris, or Diana to be doing some funky stuff. Haroon, Chris, or Diana. All right, none of them are in here, right? What did it say? Which user from HR was observed to be running scheduled task? Okay, so my logic was slightly flawed in that we're looking for them, but it doesn't necessarily. They don't necessarily have to have a command line here. So let's take this off, and we can say we'll do this, and we can say change it to stats count by username process. So let's just see what we have here. And now this is a little bit clearer. Sorry for the back and forth. It goes away when I click out of it. Welcome if you're just joining us. So now we can see that we have James, Katrina, Moen, but we also have Chris Fort. Chris is part of HR. This is what they were asking. So now we have the next answer. Does that make sense, everyone? Are you kind of understanding what I'm doing here? I just want to make sure. If not, ask away. All right, next question. Which user from the HR department executed a system process to download a payload from file sharing? All right, so let's think about this one. So what type of utilities can be used to download payloads? That's the question here, because that's what we're looking for. Got some options. CertUtil is probably the biggest one. I think Windows now has wget. PowerShell can also do variations of wget. Defender used to be able to download payloads. People used to use Defender to download malware. So those are some pretty good options. We also have probably Wimic, file sharing host, though could be SMB. We may be focused on SMB. I don't know. Let's find out. So one thing we can do though is we can say we can just do a list real quick by users, and then we can create a filter only on the HR users, because it'll help us move a little bit quicker here. So let's do that. This is what I was talking about earlier. So if you don't put or, it's an and in Splunk, by the way. I do remember that. So we want, there's Haroon. Let's see. Equals, we say Haroon, or username equals, see, Chris or Diana. Diana, or username equals Chris Fort. We'll put parentheses over that. We should now only see users from this if we did it correctly. We probably didn't do it correctly. Maybe it's a double pipe. Nope, I don't think that's what it is in this. Maybe I have to be capital. Yep, that's what it was. You got to get the syntax right or it's not going to work. There we go. All right, so we now have narrowed down our results to only our HR people. So let's look here again. So we're looking for a system process that's downloading a payload. Okay. It should be fairly straightforward. So we're going to say, we're going to do the same table we did before. We're going to say table. We don't really need time, although I usually put time in all of my queries. You probably would in a real SOC, but we'll say username, process name, and command line. This should give us probably a good chunk of results. Lots of them here. So now we can do some more narrowing because we have 3,300 results. That is a ton. Yeah, we could look through each one of these individually, but there is no need to. So one of the things we can do is we can do a stats count by here as well. Typically, I won't do this. Typically, I'll do a dedupe, but it didn't really help at all. Because we have time here. So let's get rid of time. We should see this shrink quite a bit. So not as much as I thought it was going to shrink down, which is fine. We have other tools here. So we can, one of the things I would do in this case, right, is that I would narrow it down to those that have something in the command line, would be one. So let's try that again, because we wouldn't know what's being downloaded without a command line. So a command line is like, say you ran a tool like, let me think of a tool like wget, right? So maybe you'll see wget.exe, but you always have an argument. So that argument is going to be in the command line. So it could be like the URL or type of switch that you're giving with the command. That's what we would be looking for over in the command line, and it should exist if it was captured in this case. So we'll do the not equal to blank. Let's see if that helps. We're down to 600 event, 112 events. So that was pretty significant. Okay. Now, the next thing is that we need to figure out now out of this, we need to find one that's actually downloading something. What form that takes, I don't know, because we could see an IP address, we could see a host name, we could see a URL. There's a lot of variation. So I'm pretty skeptical in terms of how we're going to search this. Like, I don't know exactly what it is, but we're also only at 112. So this may make stuff quite a bit easier. I don't think we could download anything with Office in this way. So we could try to say, and process name doesn't equal this, but let's take a peek and see. I mean, maybe there's a way to pull stuff with Office. I can't think of one because I think there would be a sub process if you were using a macro, but that's okay. This, let's see. I haven't seen anything that looks super sketchy. There's only 6 pages. What are you gonna do? You could actually do 100 right here. So that's another thing you can do is create more, um, have more on your page, and you can scroll through a lot quicker. And what we're doing here is we're just looking for something to stand out that looks like they were downloading. So this right here looks like it's being pulled from a share. So that's, or a drive. That's a drive. I guess you could have a share if you connected to it, like assigned a drive letter to it. You could do it that way. This is interesting here. Here we go. Cert util. One of the ones I mentioned is right here, the cert util. Classic doesn't work anymore. Everything catches cert util downloading now. It's not very beneficial as a pen tester, but it'll work if you're doing a pen testing lab or doing a certification. Like OSCP, there's no security tools on, so you can get by with pretty much anything. Yeah, so now we just need to answer the question. Which user did this? So it was Haroon. He's being bad. All right. So sometimes I'll go to explaining away, and this is a fake world, so it's not the same. CTF life, that's just how it is. There is some disconnect between the stuff you're doing in here and the stuff out there, but playing with the tools the way I'm doing, you can obviously see that real world experience still works. You just have to adapt that experience to work in this environment, which is whatever. It's obviously not slowing us down too bad. All right, to bypass the security controls, which system process was used to download a payload? I just did that. Oh, we can see here it's probably looking for cert util, which is fine. We can pull that out. And yeah, none of this stuff is, I didn't practice any of this before I got on here. So that's why there's maybe slight incongruencies here or me figuring stuff out as we go. I'm just using my knowledge to do this. Although I was told, my buddy Ben, he was like, yeah, you should you should probably put together like actual training and practice before you do this. It may work better. But I don't have time for that. I work, I eat, I come sit here, and I hack with you. So whatever. Let's see. What was the date that this binary was executed by the infected host? That should be a pretty easy one. So, excuse me if you heard me burp on camera. One thing we'll have to do here is we need to get the time zone. And the question is, what time are they using? If you've been on here before, there's several different times in here. So you have the time that the event occurred, the time that it was ingested, and a third time for something. So I don't know which one they're looking for. We'll figure that out in a second. But we need at least one of them to show up in here. And we need to get on this one. So let's look at, let's figure out how we're going to do this. So I want to keep this. So we'll just duplicate. This is a fun little trick with Splunk. You can duplicate and keep everything. We know who we're looking for, right? So we can say, add to our query that this has to be the user. We'll do that. I didn't want to do away with my previous query. So let's do this. Okay. And we also need to add a time. So we can do a table. Underscore time is the default time. But we have found in the Splunks in THM that is not the event time. So be careful out there. So 03/04/2022, what is the date format they're looking for here? Let's see. So this format is what they're looking for. Perfect. So let's go ahead and copy that. Paste it in here, and we should be able to move right on to the next one. All right. Which third-party site was accessed to download the payload? So they're just asking the same stuff about the same thing. So whatever, I guess. That's probably what they're looking for. Easy. What is the name of the file that was saved on the host machine from the C2 server during post-exploitation? So we're looking for the name of the file when it landed on disk, not the file that was being pulled down, I believe. Name of the file that was saved. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Now, you may be saying to yourself, how do we do that? How do I know what the file name was? Some of you may be looking at this and saying, okay, that's definitely it because it says benign.exe. You would be correct. But what I would do to future proof your guessing, because that was probably a guess unless you know the syntax for cert util, is to look up whatever the tool is and look for what the different arguments are. So back in the day, we just did a man page for it and you can look it up. Nowadays, you can just ask ChatGPT. So I might do this because it's a CTF environment, but I would never, ever, ever do this in a customer's environment where I just copy stuff out of the logs and paste it immediately, especially file names or whatever. But whatever. What does this do? So this could be something like you would do, and you would get AI mode. AI will help you. You may have an internal AI you could use at work that will keep you compliant if you have like HIPAA or whatever type of compliance. And what we're looking for is this, right? We're looking through here, we're understanding, okay, URL cache, got it. Force flag, okay, got it. This, okay, it's the URL, okay. And then this says, oh, it's the downloaded file that will be saved to the local system. This is what we're looking for here. But if you wanted to do it the whole old school way, you can say man cert util. And we can find the official Microsoft documentation. And it will load at some point when it feels like it. If you're new to the channel, stream, we're on the stream. Welcome. Feel free to ask questions. Make sure to do the fun things you're supposed to do to people who stream. Sign up for stuff. No, subscribe. Ring the bell. Isn't that what they say? Ring the bell. What was that? Notifications? I don't know. But yeah, do the thing. Ask questions. Happy to answer them. I don't know what's up with Microsoft's site. They must be down. I don't know if it'll load. So sad. Oh. We'll rely on AI here. We'll pretend this is a man page we could actually get. And so it's a utility for managing certificates and performing other tasks on Windows, including creating, deleting, viewing certificates as well as generating file hashes and downloading files. So boom. This is a really, really classic way, again, that attackers will download files on systems. Don't expect it to work anymore. Even if you're not downloading anything malicious, everything catches it as malicious regardless. So it doesn't actually work really well. But here we go. We can see information here. We can see different ways of utilizing it. You can see, sheesh, you can see the alternative method here where we don't actually have a file name. So we just use the file name itself that we pull down. We can see there's a way to use it with alternate data streams. That's a fun one. I didn't think of that one. We can see some basics for encoding. I've seen that one. So there are variations here you can utilize, but we'll stop there and we'll just answer our question. Need to pull this file name here. Okay. All right, so let's drop this in here. Do the next one. Suspicious file download from C2 server contain malicious content with a pattern blank. What is the pattern? This should be a fairly easy one. We just keyword search. I don't know where this is going to show up, to be honest. It says the contents. I can't really think of a place that the content would show. If it was PowerShell, we'd see it there. Unless it just happens to show up in a command somewhere. I don't know where it's going to show up, but YOLO. Let's see what happens. Hey, Philippe, no school today? I think you're the one with school all the time. All right, so let's just do a keyword search here. And we'll try with THM. So let's figure out how we can do this one. A suspicious file downloaded from the C2 server contain malicious content with the pattern THM. What is the pattern? Okay, so we got a couple of options here. Pretty much all we saw earlier was 4688's process creation logs. We want to see file content. How would we see it? I don't think we have 4688s that don't include file rights. if it was running PowerShell, we could see it as part of the output when it's loading the modules and executing the code, but we don't have those. Oh yeah, you're done. Yeah, you were kept escaping for class. Sorry, dude. Yeah, that's right. We had a big congratulations for you the other week. So what are you gonna do? You gonna hang out with me now? Overtime work? Oof. Working hard, man. It's good for you. Working and going to school, you're a hard working man. I did that too. I feel you, man. That's tough life, especially if you got family. Okay, so we need to probably what we'll do is we'll first find that benign file. Then we'll do a temporal search, which means we'll search around that activity and see what we can find for that user. Just to see. So let's focus on this user, although I'd rather focus on the host because the user could change if he escalated privileges or I guess if he bounced to a different user or to a different host as well. So start with the user. Let's also do cert util. We'll do star. We'll pull those logs. We got one event. Great. And you know how we have a month-long filter currently? What we're going to do now is narrow our time frame to probably 5 minutes either side of this. And that should help us. We can do that and then narrow, remove the cert util and just focus on that user. So we'll do that. All right, 7 events. That's doable. Let's see what Philippe said. He had an interview for an IT service desk. How was that? Was this your first interview? They're pretty rough. Oh, it was good. You got a second round. That means they liked you. That's awesome. Well, that is awesome. Good stuff. Interviews are always tough. They're mental battles there. They are tough. All right. Excuse me. I'm tired. Can I go to sleep yet? Yeah. And let's see. Recruiter reached out to me through LinkedIn, located in Tampa. Good stuff. My first job was in Tampa. Well, after my internship. So my first big boy job was Tampa. I loved it there. And that's exactly how they found me through LinkedIn. That's awesome. Yeah, man. If you're not a believer in LinkedIn accounts yet, be a believer. LinkedIn, I am a fan of using it as an extended resume because more than likely you get an interview, your interviewers are going to be checking out your LinkedIn profile, and probably all they got was a little one pager. So you can load it up with whatever you want and people can look at it. The other big thing is there's no limit to how big your LinkedIn resume is, right? Your recruiter's always like, keep it a page, especially if you're new. But LinkedIn profile, put whatever you want there. And because of that, recruiters typically just go in there and search. They search for keywords in resumes or in LinkedIn profiles, excuse me, and that's how they'll find you. So you can just like load it up. I'm not saying like fake keywords in there, but you can load it up with all the courses you've been doing, all the modules, whatever you want, just stuff you've been doing, and it may get the attention of a recruiter a little bit better than just a resume that has to typically make it through an AI engine of sorts to get into the hands of the recruiter to then get in the hands of the hiring manager. So it's a good place to do some good stuff. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's see. Let's see what Philippe is saying here. I was pretty honest about my situation. I tried to show more of a human side of myself and some analytical thinking. I don't believe in interviewing strategy. Fair. Yeah, use what works for you. I don't really have a huge interview strategy myself, other than I'm honest about what I don't know, but I always tell them, I'm gonna try anyways. Hey, you asked me something. I'm gonna logically think through this. If I'm right, I'm already up because I told him I didn't know and I logically found the solution. If I'm wrong, it's not gonna hurt me any worse. That's probably about the only thing I do in there. But I try to also show the breadth of my knowledge when I'm in an interview. Um, so definitely things you can do. Yeah, I don't know what any of this stuff is. I think you start thinking about too many things in an interview, you're gonna drive yourself crazy, and you're gonna do worse on the interview because you're trying to do everything correctly. Um, yeah, I don't know anything about those. But yeah, practice is definitely a thing. Like if you have a mentor, practice with your mentor. I want to do some interview sessions at some point in the community. So give you folks some opportunity to practice getting questions and having to think on your feet because it's just a skill you have to practice. So it could be a good thing. Oh, nice. Yeah. Bilingual, trilingual over there. That's some good stuff. All right. I need to figure out the answer to this question here. What was the question first? Suspicious file. We're looking for something with THM. Then we're also trying to figure out where it connected to. I'm not seeing any of that information in here. What we can do. Yeah, we're not seeing any of that in here. What we can do though is we can see if there's any other. I am going to split this out real quick. We can see if there's any other log types. There shouldn't be. We only saw 4688s when we did a very, very broad look. Um, but let's take a look. Remember, we're still in our. We are not in our time frame. Should have been. Let's see. I thought I did 5 minutes. It must have been this one. Oh, this is the one I did in 5 minute increments here. Um, yeah, that's good, man. IT experience isn't going to hurt you, and they give you a chance to start getting some hands-on stuff. Well, just getting general IT experience while you're focusing on your cybersecurity stuff. Can't talk. One thing I would suggest is don't overindulge on your resumes. I have seen quite a few in the last couple of weeks come across my desk. They just really put a lot of stuff. They're trying to, I could tell they were trying to get keyword heavy because I was like, oh, yeah, this sounds great. This is amazing. And when you start talking to them about it, they don't know hardly anything. And it could just be like the recruiter told them to do that. I had a recruiter tell me to pad my resume at one point. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'll put the experience I have, which was, anyways, what they wanted. So it worked out. But yeah, don't do that. They're going to find out in the interview. If I have on my job description something, I'm going to ask you about that something. And if you can't give me a good answer, I'm going to immediately say, hey, you lied on your resume. You are over exaggerating what your capabilities are. And you're not going to get hired anyway. One, because you lied. Two, you just don't have the skills I'm looking for. So um, be honest. Be honest. All right, so we have 7. Let's just star everything. Let's see what kind of logs we're getting here. Should be the same. We should be seeing event ID 1s. Unless there's like a different app in here for us. Jeez, you got an interview, you put in a resume, you didn't even read the job description. I think that's what they call beginner's luck. That's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Yeah, I'm trying to really think about where we would find how many logs. We only have 42 logs. I don't know where we would get this information. So probably we want to look for whatever's after cert util is going to be the answer here. So here's cert util. Make sure it's going in order. 3828. FileZilla. 3828. Okay, so we're going. I was just making sure we were going which direction in time. So we need to go up versus down because they're in order. So let's see. We're looking for Spotify here. This is nothing. WMI. These logs are just super, super weird to me. But we are looking for, could just be Outlook. There's netstat here. Question mark means they were looking to understand what it's doing. The order of these things is just bizarre. I don't think it would happen in a real world unless the system was starting up. There's just so much stuff. Citrix is in here. That's kind of fun because they're asking about specific IP addresses. So it makes me think there's a URL here. So let's see, HTTPS. There's a URL. So that would show up in some logs, but I would guess that we should have logs for something where we can see the content somewhere else. So that's still baffling me. Let's see what they said in the chat here. Oh, they had a pretty wild job description. Okay. Yeah, some companies really pad those. It happens. Some of it's for compliance reasons. I've seen that quite a bit. You have to have this stuff in here because it's contractual, whatever it is. Like based on a contract that the company is trying to fulfill. So you never know. Sometimes they just put a bunch of junk in there anyways too. All right, let's see if there's another app in here or another tool that'll get us what we want. I don't know. Searching and reporting is one of the apps. I don't know what any of these other ones do, to be fair. Mostly I've only used searching and reporting. Let's see. If this doesn't work, we'll just do a blanket scan for HTTPS because why not? Yeah, this is like another case where I'm like thinking, how do you see the contents of a file? Certainly not process create. And this is where experience comes from or comes into play. As you play more with logs, you can start predicting where you need to go to find the information. You just get faster at it. This is the case where I'm probably overthinking the question, which is, happens. So we can say HTTPS star. This is just going to be a wide, give me everything with a URL in it. But we may also need to just look at everything as well. And that wasn't the case. Let's see if this shows up anywhere. I doubt it. This is bizarre. I wonder where they want us to go for this information. This doesn't work. What is the URL that the infected host connected to? What is the name of the file that was saved on the host machine during post-exploitation. What's interesting is there are, so this is just Windows event logs, but there are events that could tell you at least this URL. It could be in process create. We could see them in firewall logs, or not firewall. Well, maybe. Um, we could see them at other places. We could see the IP and event code threes. I don't know because the logs are just pretty thin here. It's pretty interesting. Welcome. If you're just joining the stream, welcome. If you have any channels, feel free to drop them. Don't let us scare you off. Philippe is just telling us about his interview. He didn't even read the job description for it, but he got a second one, so he did fantastic. It's amazing. I wish I had that kind of luck. Where there is no 4688 to get the contents of a file. There are none. I wonder where they're getting this info at. So we're going to say that this host is the infected host. Let's do a look at the host name. Let's see, host. Just make sure we're using the correct field. So host name. Okay. So sounds count by user. Host name. See what this does. And we know it's this crazy guy here. So let's switch. Host name is this. Excuse me. Got hiccups. Proper formatting. Yeah, recruiters are nice like that, huh? They'll kind of give you a heads up. I remember my last technical interview that I did, they're really tough. They're going to ask you all these questions, and they didn't ask me any other questions. They asked me all kind of other ones. Luckily, it was my area that I knew really well, so I passed the interview. But they were like, "How did it go?" I said, "I guess it went pretty well." And they asked, "Well, what did they ask you?" I said, "Not a thing that you asked me." And then I told them all what they asked, and they're like, "Oh, that's weird. They always ask these other questions." It's pretty interesting. Microsoft 365. What kind of questions did they ask you about that? Win32 Calc. That's a new one. It's usually calc.exe. So we're looking still for a way to find what the name of the file is. Got Slack. It's a fun DLL sideloading attack with Slack and Teams and a couple of other tools. Well, I guess you could almost do that with pretty much anything in Microsoft if you wanted to. This process ID, accounts payable. We got too many here to be screwing around with. Let's see. I just don't know where we're going to get the answer we're looking for. Because we even did a search of all time. We only have process creation. Let's see if there's other instructions down here. Let's see. So the client's IDS indicated potential suspicious thing. Due to limited resources, we could only pull the process execution logs. Okay, that is all they had. So 3 sections: IT, HR, marketing departments. All right, let's see. So it is expected that it's only in these logs. I wonder if the curly brace is a special character. It may be a special character. So like we do star, escape, star. We should get some logs here. A crap ton of logs. All right, here's some fun questions for an IT interview for some folks if you hadn't seen them. How would he troubleshoot if a sender couldn't send an email through Outlook, but they said the scenario was the client already rebooted, it checked for permission and already checked internet Wi-Fi. Yeah, the old classic. Because they probably had everyone come on there and be like, I would ask them to reboot. That's what every IT person would ask me. Can you reboot? Thank you. What was it? THM? All right, so let's try putting THM in the front. See, this is what's driving me nuts is that I don't know where to find this at. Like, I have no clue where you would realistically see this. Even if you catted a file in 4688, it wouldn't even show. You could echo, but why would you echo it unless it was just something super goofy? Silly. Yeah, sorry if I keep going off camera. I couldn't get it to do the cool thing it used to do. I guess they updated their site. The one I'm using to do the streaming, anyways. I'm trying to think. It shouldn't be in any of this other stuff. Can we do like this star, this star? This should get a lot of complete stuff. It's probably in the raw text. That's probably a pretty bad search query. Yeah. All right, I think I'm at a loss here. I don't know what they're looking for. What was the name of this one? Usually I can fumble my way through this. B9. Let's see. THM B9. I'm curious where the heck this is at. Don't be afraid to look for hints instead of wasting your time on stuff. Let's see what they're doing. Oh, are we supposed to actually like check out the site? Oh, we are actually supposed to interact with the site. That's interesting. I haven't seen that very often. Okay, so I'm gonna put this over here. Let's go pull the site. We may have to add the IP, or maybe not. Maybe we might have to add this to our host file. Probably. All right, so let's do that real quick. Let's see. Etsy hosts. Nope. Hosts. Sudo vi Etsy hosts. All right, and I'm going to put that in here, and we need to get the IP. We'll grab that. Oh. I might have wrote over what needs to go in there. What is it? Just controlc.com. It should be fine. Let's go ahead and write that. And now we may be able to go there. It should resolve to the host. And it does. Oh, it just went there. Oops. Maybe we just go to that. I don't know. Let's see. Check the internet Wi-Fi. By the way, if nobody would know, the answer is to check for the app updates or reinstall the app or try in another computer to see if it works. That's fair. Those are all good ways. All right, so let's go find cert util again. And I want to pull this out here. Maybe we're supposed to go here. Nope. What is it they want us to do here? Maybe I missed a step at the beginning. Let's see. Investigate. Yeah, connect to the lab. This might be a case where we want to use an attack machine, but this is so bad when you can't do it in 5 seconds. So ADD over here. They just stopped right there. Let's see. See what's the name. Here it is. They don't show this one. Are we supposed to go to like... I'm curious. I still don't understand how they're getting it because I thought we put it in there and we couldn't find it. Let's just post it somewhere. See if we can find it. Oh, there is one here. So is the site down? This is tough luck, man. I'm just trying to finish up this room. It's driving me nuts. This is why I'll look up answers sometimes. Like, all right, something's weird. This should be way easier than it is. And if it's not, then I just move on. We're just waiting on it to maybe connect. Maybe. Let's see. TryHackMe B9. Try this, guys. Let's remove this Etsy file. I thought this was going to be a case where they wanted us to add it to the host file and do some stuff, but that is not the case. Let's see. The suspicious file download contains malicious pattern. What is it? Head over to the URL where the payload was sourced from. So this is weird. What's funny is this is something you would never, ever do in the real world. Go and try to download the file. I mean, maybe. I doubt it unless you have like a system where you could actually do that. But there's this whole thing in the real world called attribution, and most of the time, you don't want to let bad guys know you're onto their trail, because then they could start taking additional actions in your environment and start destroying stuff. So typically, like, you don't want to key them off. So for instance, I've seen people, threat actors and red teamers, put like a hash in virus total, and they'll essentially set up an alert. So if a file gets submitted or someone searches that hash, it'll let them know, and they know someone's on to them, and someone has picked up whatever their malicious file is, and they'll switch gears. Yeah, so attribution, it's a real thing. This is so freaking wild, man. I wonder if we can go to what's it called? Wayback Machine. Is that a thing still? And look it up. It looks like it's down, but see, the last time it was up. It was up here. Here we go. This thing is freaking out. Sorry if it's going a little bit crazy here. All right, so this is one of those things where we were able to find the site. It happens to be down. The files here, obviously what we're supposed to see, but we can't finish it. That's the kind of stuff you'll run into here. What a shame. We can answer the last one though, for sure. And that is just going to be right over here. And right here. I don't know if this was in my clipboard, but that's okay. This is what they're looking for. I don't know what this is. We don't know because we can't pull this down. I wonder if I could download this page or something with it. Let's see. Let's see if we can figure out. We're just looking for the content of the page. And in that content, we may be able to find what we're looking for, which is just whatever the contents of the text is. So here's that. This may have our contents, maybe. Maybe not. Sorry, I'm off screen again. It's my computer screen's all the way over here. I'm blind as a bat. Image source. I'm just looking to see if any of these sections contain the code or the file, and it's just struggling to display it. And then I can grab it instead of cheating. But I think it's just erroring out. Sad. Let's see if there's any stuff in storage here. Nope. Can we reload and maybe it'll pull it? I doubt it. Nothing. You would think it would show up in there. All right, we'll just cheat and take it from whoever posted it right here. This may not even be the right thing. It could be randomized. I thought one of these used to randomize it. There we go. All right, we cheated. Whatever. Page didn't exist anymore. We found it in the Wayback though. So in case you don't know, by the way, Wayback Machine is pretty cool. It's a good chance. So for instance, say a threat group puts up a website that's scraping creds or whatever. Well, the Wayback Machine will make a copy of it, just like you saw here, where it basically takes a backup snapshot of it. And I'm trying to find my thing here. Let's see. Where did I put it at? Right here. Basically, it'll take a snapshot so you can kind of see what it looked like at the time. And so this is useful for, again, if you're like there's a site, again, hosting malware, or there's something embedded in and you want to see it, that works. There's also other tools like URL scan. You could check to see if anyone has scanned the URL yet. There's lots of things like that, but this could help give you an idea of what was going on at the time. This is a good site too if people, organizations leave credentials or secrets and websites, and they're in like the source code. You could use the Wayback Machine to go back. I believe it's only crawlable pages, which would make sense to me. Crawlable meaning they're linked somewhere on the page, or it's the home page of a site, and it can find it. Like if say there's like a page that isn't linked anywhere on there, like some random page, like a config page or something like that, it may not end up on here. It probably won't. Excuse me. But yeah, so it's a archive, Wayback Machine. It's a snapshot of history, if you will. All right, so let's go find something else to get into. That one's done. Let's look at our pathways again. We were working in SOC level 1. I just clicked the box in here, by the way. What is, I don't ever do, well, I guess now I do CTI, but I'm not a CTI person in general. Like I'm not formal with it. I utilize it, but I'm just not formal with it. Like I've never written a CTI report. It's just not something I've ever had to do. I've read reports, but I don't have to write the reports. What is this? Can we do this? We might, let's see. Tell me Bitcoin wallet, but I don't know what a Bitcoin is. Let's see what the questions are. This one sounds not very fun, so we won't do that one. Here's some tools too. If you're new to cybersecurity world and you want to play around with some tools, this is a really good module or a really good pathway to get into a SOC level 1. SOC level 2 is also really good to check out to learn stuff. OS query, Sysmon, these are all things that a lot of people use. Welcome if you're new to the stream. Welcome. Feel free to ask questions while you're here. Happy to have you. If you like my stuff, do the like thing. Like, share, subscribe, hop on the Discord channel, all those things. Did we do this one? Is this the one we did? This is the one we just did. Sorry. I'm trying to find something fun to do. We did benign. No, we did investigate with Splunk the other day. Um, I don't want to do a room that's teaching us. I want to do a room where I'm just hacking stuff, if that makes sense. What is this? Is this forensics? Let's see what critical is. I don't want to do memory forensics tonight. I'm good. My brain is not there. Tempest, maybe? Let's see what this is. Cool. Yeah, let's do this one. How do I start? Start the machine. Let's go. Did we already finish this one? Oh, no, we have to join the room first. All right. So we'll do this one tonight. Yeah, if you're here, welcome. If there's anything you would like us to cover while we're on here today, feel free to ask questions. I am here to help. I know there is so much in cybersecurity to learn. I'm here to help make it as easy as possible. So please feel free to ask questions. Right now, we're just doing blue team stuff today. We do have about an hour and a half left of the stream, so plenty of time to do stuff, including if anyone is interested in doing a career clinic or a infosec pathway clinic, happy to do that, where we review whatever your plan is, and I can give you some pointers or answer any questions about it. So whatever you want to do, I'm here for you. Then I'm going to crawl in bed and go to sleep and say hello Friday, tomorrow morning when I wake up. I don't want to do it this way. I hate these boxes. They drive me nuts. See if it's recommending. It is recommending we use their machine. Sad. God, I hate using their machines. They're so freaking painfully slow. It drives me nuts. All right, we'll let this thing load. We're supposed to be getting an IP here. I guess it doesn't matter. We should be able to log right into it. First step is first. Don't care. I'm skipping ahead. I just want to do stuff. Eric Zimmerman. We get to play with some Eric Zimmerman tools. That's cool. This doesn't seem like a capstone. This seems like a normal lab. All right, so we got to do some hashing here. Let's see what else we got. Welcome again. Tempest incident. Okay, then we get into all the fun stuff. Okay, all right, we can work with this. You know, what's crazy is usually it's super hot in the studio because of the lights I have on. Today it's a little bit chilly. I just like feel the air. So maybe my girlfriend turned the AC on for me because she felt bad. But it's actually getting a lot cooler finally. So not that bad. How many of you have attempted to use any Eric Zimmerman tools before? These are classics, so definitely be familiar with them, or at least what they are. You won't be using them probably as a tier 1, but inching up in the tier 2 plus for sure. Definitely something I expect my tier 3s to know at work. Definitely something. And there's a lot of really good guides out there. 13 Cubed, really good site if you're interested in the forensics. Really, really good materials to help you understand that. That's where I learned. Really good stuff there. But yeah, Eric Zimmerman. These tools have been out for a while. I'm surprised there hasn't been others to replace these. Uh, just put them out for free. They're on GitHub. grab them. You can start analyzing Windows artifacts for free today. Even the memory forensics is free. Volatility, you have volatility 2 and 3. That's a freebie. So that's cool. I'm about to take this thing off. Sorry for the noise. It's killing my wrist. Yeah, there's some really, really good free tools out there. A lot of people think, hey, should I buy this tool? Should I buy that? No, there's a lot of free stuff. Like people doing web app hacking. They think you may think you should be downloading or paying for Burp Suite, the real deal. No, you probably don't need it unless you're a professional pen tester. You can get away with Zap, which is free to download. Zap Proxy, Attack Proxy, it's free. It does most of the stuff that Burp does. So there's that. But Portswigger, the maker of Burp Suite, does have some really, really good course, free training material on their website. Well, one of their websites, Portswigger Academy. So good, so good. If you're interested in web app attacks, that is the place to go to learn. Lots of guides, lots of really good material. There are free labs, which is you will not find very often. And I'm just filling the void right now because this thing is taking forever to load. Sheesh. We're about to move on to another one if it doesn't load. Taking forever. Welcome if you're new to chat. As we're waiting on this thing to load, ask me some questions. We're just trying to do some incident response today if this lab will ever load for us. And we may just be moving on because it's so painfully slow. And we're moving on. I'm over it. I'm over it. Let's try another one. Boogeyman, maybe? Just don't make me join another room. Don't do it. Let's see. Okay, let's try this one. Let's see what we can do with this one. We may be able to do it with our current host. It just says we should just be able to download stuff. We have to download the file. I don't want to use one of their things. Come on. Upload and conquer, maybe? Oh, this is a SOC simulator. I don't want to have PTSD tonight. I don't want to do. These are pretty decent. They do give you some relatively realistic experience with SOC work. It does. So they're not bad. If you're curious what it's like, definitely do these. I don't enjoy them. I don't want to do them, but you should do them. Do as I say, not as I do. Right. All right. Let's jump in the SOC level 2. Let's see if there's some good stuff in here. SOCs, fix it. What is this? Regex. Oh, this is not fun tonight. What is up? Let's see, malware analysis. I don't have stuff set up to be able to do analysis tonight. All right. Can we find? Let's just go to practice. Maybe we can find a challenge. Can we filter? Don't care about subscription. Type blue. Let's do a blue challenge. I think we were working on one the other day and I forgot what it was, but it was a tough one. It was fun. Let's see. Uncover a hidden file. Do we get a pull the file down? No, we have to log in to these crappy machines. No, thank you. I wish it would allow me to filter those out. Let's see. Can we do this one? More target machines. You know, I talked TryHackMe up so much, and they're just killing me tonight. What a shame. Again, what the heck? Sorry for all this clicky, scrolly, whatever. I'm just trying to find something that I don't have to rely on their VM because it takes forever to load up. It's not good. It's horrible. Drives me nuts. Maybe this one? Let's see. I guess this is a good case where I should probably pick out what I want to do ahead of time, so that we don't have to sit here and do this over and over and over. Are evil, disgruntled. We looked at Boogeyman in there. Let's see if we can do this one. Oh, we've already done it. What a shame. All right. SQL dump. Can you decipher the capture traffic of a SQL injection? Maybe. Are you going to give it to me? Man. What is this crap? All right, here's my my ask of you. TryHackMe. Can we get a filter for not having to use one of your crappy systems? That would be lovely. Thank you. They're horrible. No offense. I don't want to do memory analysis. Okay, here we go. We got a Splunk one. All right, let's do it. We'll take it. All right. We got a ransomware one. I love doing some ransomware stuff. It is a blast. So we're waiting for it to load up so we get our machine URL. I'm pretty sure. So we'll give it a second to load up. So ransomware is fun. This is pretty typical, where they say, hey, this is how you can contact us. It's usually like an onion site. If you don't, then you're not getting your stuff back, or we'll release it on the internet. This is Conti. Oh. So a very specific one. Let's see. Oh, we have to start the machine. Oops. So Conti is pretty interesting itself. It's an older, I'm pretty sure it's an older variation. I'm not sure if Conti is even around. I thought I saw something where they weren't, but it could totally be way off. Because some of them will be around for a little bit and then they'll make a lot of money and then they're like, all right, we're good. And Just how they do. They made enough. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Ransomware it's insane. I'm just waiting for this IP. That's what I'm doing here. That's why I keep scrolling and whatnot. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So we can get our Splunk instance up and running. All right, where does this go to? Oh, we can just do this. I'm not sure why they had all those other ones like going to like where we actually had to log into something. They just give me the sample. Let's play with it. Ah, wow, it took you a long time there, spammer. I expected you at 6:01 today. You're late. I wonder if they have the usernames like domain or like algorithmically generated. That would be kind of funny. All right, so we're here. We are here. All right, now let's figure out what we're supposed to be doing here. The below error messages that the Exchange admin employees see when they try to access anything related to Exchange or Outlook. Hey, look at that. We have someone who can't access stuff, Philippe. Maybe you can help them out. So OWA, great. Can you identify the location of the ransomware? Maybe. This is a maybe. Let's see how many logs we have here. So almost every time when we do these on here, we'll have to do all time or change the time at a minimum, because a lot of times these were time date stamps are going to be years ago, because it's not real time, right? These logs weren't just generated for you. It was a system that had a snapshot or was saved so that we could just start it for every user. Oh, excuse me, I'm just yawning. Maybe we can get one more in tonight. Maybe. I don't know how many logs are on this. I suspect not that many. Depending on how ransomware does its file writes, you may not even see the file writes. I'm actually presenting in a week or 2 weeks on a way to do file writes without creating a log, which is fun. I think a lot of people know how to do it, except those who haven't done it. If you haven't been playing around with the ransomware or writing it yourself, you may not know how to do it. So it's a fun talk. Let's see. Not real time. This is what we want. All right. So we have 28,000 events. We have 5, not event types, we want an event code. Event code. Here it is. Okay, we got tons of event codes in this one, which is good. The last one, we didn't have a ton of event codes. All right, so we are supposed to be doing what? Identify the location of the ransomware. So there are file creation events. Let's see if we can't find that. So what we're looking for, I don't remember what the title is. Somewhere in the log, it'll tell you what it is. Task, not task category. Maybe message. Let's look at, let's just do file and see what comes in. File created, message file created. What event ID is this? So event code 11, file create. Okay, so let's do event code 11 and see what we got. So event code is the field. I never have worked in an environment where we're getting 11s because they're so prolific. They're just everywhere. So I haven't seen them per se in the real world. Usually you can rely on your EDR to pull those same ones. And it's doesn't cost anything to search them or store them. Well, not much. Readme.txt. This could be it. So how many files we got? We have 104. So let's go ahead and table our results. We can say we want table time. We probably want computer name. Make sure you get your casing correct. It will break. Probably want image and target file name. And we'll probably sort by time. See what happens. That's not 100. Okay, there we go. That's 100. Let's adjust to 100. So remember, it was on the OWA server. So we see a lot related to an Exchange server, which is what we would expect based on the clues that we had. And now what we're looking for, hopefully you don't hear my dog in there acting a fool. What we're looking for is stuff related to ransomware. So we did see a readme.txt, and that looked kind of suspicious. Usually there's a readme file related to ransomware. And typically they drop it in every directory. Well, a lot of variants do. They'll drop it in every directory that has stuff encrypted. So we can see it here all over the place. Now the question is, where was the original? What was the original ransomware file? I don't know yet. I don't know. We can see in a second. Can you identify the location of the ransomware? So they're looking for a full path here. This one is what we want. Let's save this, okay? And we're going to duplicate it. We're going to do some play here. So we want to look around this event time. Narrow to this time range. Except I want to expand my time range to the left. We'll say even there, and then we'll give it 10 minutes over here. This is going to open up our time range on this host here, so we can look at stuff. But I'm also going to change to event code 1, which is our process create. So theoretically, we should be seeing our ransomware execute at some point around when the notes, the README note was created. We'll see. But we should see it probably. Should probably see it in here close to this. So it should be roughly around 1305. So it should be right before 1305. So we see net. And this is typically done whenever you're creating accounts. So what I didn't add to this table, computer name, image, target file name. Target file name isn't actually in these, but command line is in the process creation log. So that should help us. And we can also get a hash for this thing in a second. So we just want 1305. All right, here we go. So this is someone adding a file. Add local group administrators, adding security ninja. So they added user add. So they added this guy here. So this looks not good. Then we're looking for command.exe, net sh. And then we're still looking for the ransomware file. I don't know what it is. I keep coming over here to look. I keep seeing Defender in here too. I'm having to go over here to read because it's the font small. I guess that the font is small. You can't see it either. I don't know why. I'm just not zooming in for you. So you're supposed to let me know if you can't read. Let me know. All right. So I think what we need to do here is we need a closer look at around 1305. So we need to change from smart mode, even though that's fast. We need to go to verbose mode so we can hop over here. And we want to see about 1305, so this time frame. And we want to show probably just stuff related to this host. And we want to say change this event to probably 1302. And to 13, probably 08. We just want a shorter time frame because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this up pretty broad in terms of what we're looking for, just to see because I don't see anything that sticks out to me necessarily here. But we need to figure out what's creating the files. And actually, we may be able to see what's writing that in a second. I actually haven't had file writes, but that's why I was like, oh, let me play with this. So verbose, there may be a field for process ID, perhaps. Let's see. And we may be able to, there is a process ID. Okay, cool. So let's trace stuff back to process ID to just 15540. So that's the one creating the README. Target file name is README. So that's what it's creating. So it could just be command.exe. That is exactly what it is. Okay. And this is a trick where they do stuff to blend in. I'm tired, excuse me. Command.exe should not be in documents. But I will tell you in the real world, this kind of stuff, when admins do some funky stuff, so you never know. But this should stand out because this should be in Windows directories, like your admin directories. So something to keep in mind there. My apologies for being whatever. All right, so we need an MD5 hash. So we were talking earlier where we want to know where we're going to find this stuff. So process process creation event. So sysmon event ones will have the hash of files. So wherever we're doing event code ones, which are here, we should be able to get what we're looking for. I'm looking for this. So 1305. We need to go look at the full event and then we can pull it. Sorry, I'm scrolling super quick. Right here is where we should have it. And we're just looking for. Just looking for it. Actually, let's do. We're looking for command line, and we're looking for command.exe. There we go. This is what we're looking for here, and we need to get the file hash out of this, and we should see it right here. Bingo. What hash do they want? Well, we're hunting for Conti today, Handcaster. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you can't see the screen, and I'll zoom in even more. And we're looking for the ND5 hash, which is right here. So we have all these fun different hashes in our sysmon ones. That's why I was looking for sysmon one. Sweet. Cool. And yeah, sysmon one has some really good stuff. So it's one of my favorite ones, and it's one that a lot of organizations have as well uh, because it's a good one, right? A lot of places push sysmon configs out to pull these logs because there's a lot of pretty nice set of logs you can get from sysmon, not just process create. There are plenty of others, but yeah, that's what I know. So I knew the hashes were going to be in there, and a lot of people, what they'll do, a lot of new analysts, they'll take the hash and validate it in VirusTotal to see if it's good or if it's bad. I know I said earlier, talked about attribution in behaving and not doing that, but that's what a lot of people do. And another thing people will do, and this is drives me nuts as a supervisor, is they will take the hash and they'll post it in VirusTotal, and they'll be like, okay, it's not malicious, and it's wild. Perfect. Yeah. Sysmon is so universal now. It's amazing. But let me show you what I'm talking about with VirusTotal. Handcaster probably has seen this. He's playing around with Arctic Wolf and whatnot. You can put it in here, and it will tell you if it's good or bad. Now, there's a bunch of variations. Like sometimes, especially if it's new, you won't see a lot of findings, and that could be good or bad. Or if it is legitimate, like command.exe, you may see that it's just good, right? So let's take a peek at what it would look like to just put something normal in there. So let's take this out. Let's pull something else real quick. So, like, say, let's do this. It doesn't really matter what we pull. This is going to be mp command run.exe. So let's just take a hash, and it should show us that it is legitimate, if it is legitimate. And you just stick it in here. Any of the hashes will do. And what analysts are doing here is kind of looking for signs that either it's been seen, right? If it's been seen, then we should see a lot of good here. Maybe see a signature or where it's distributed from. So a lot of Microsoft files aren't actually signed, believe it or not. They just don't. And but this one happens to be, and we can look in our details and we can see some general information about it. Some history of when it was seen here on VirusTotal. This is a really good one, right? If we see that it looks like command.exe and it should be pretty well known, and you have like a 1960 creation time, or in this case, this one has a 2044 creation time, that may stand out as bizarre to you. But spoiler alert here too, Visual Studios doesn't actually use the creation time field the way you're supposed to. And so it's more of a random field more than anything. I think it's like a parity check or something. But you'll see some pretty wild timestamps if they're compiled with Visual Studio and other tools as well. But Visual Studio right here. I just know when I was writing malware for my last role, I would see that, and the analyst would instantly hit on that. Oh, the creation time is in the 60s, or it's in the future. This must be bad, but it's that's how Visual Studios does. even if like I wasn't even doing it intentional. So I actually had to go back and compile it manually outside of Visual Studios so they wouldn't key in on that, just because I didn't want them to get super excited over nothing. But I did kind of inform them about how Visual Studios worked. Anyways, so we could see the date signed. That's more normal. The signature date is going to be on the actual certificate, actually in the actual signature. So that's normal. That's what you want to see. And then you can see obviously who has signed it. Um, what's fun about signatures is they've made it a lot more difficult to get certificates for stuff. So they're becoming more like valid, I guess. Certificates are supposed to be valid, but at one point, people were able to get them and they would just have them sign, and there was no like checking who the person was or the organization was purchasing the certificate. And so it didn't really say it had authority because it was signed by someone. It was just someone paid some money for something, but it's becoming more protected now than it used to be, I guess is where I'm going with that one. Some of this stuff, not that important. But let's go back and take a look at this one. Let's see if it was signed or anything like that. So this one has pretty normal timestamps here, so we don't see anything bizarre, not necessarily wild. We can see that it is likely C++. It's a Windows executable. Not surprising, right? It's got a PE header. And what else is in here that's interesting? We can see that it is not signed. And we can see that there's only a handful of DLLs that are pulled in. Now, so this is pretty normal with malware that you're not seeing a ton of imports. This one actually has a lot more imports than I was expecting. So a lot of times now we're seeing packed, that's what they call it, packed malware, where you're only showing maybe a handful of function calls, because when it only uses those to unpack, unravel it, and then it loads in all the other functions and DLLs that it requires, but it just creates a really minimal footprint on the outside. This one's different. This is back in what is it, 2020 maybe. Yeah, so packing may have not been as big of a thing back then, but it is a malware evasion thing that you'll see implemented. Welcome to the channel. If you are new, feel free to ask questions. And yeah, thanks. All right, so let's get back to here. So we can see some fun stuff. One of the things when you get into malware analysis, so if some of my guys actually learning malware analysis now for the first time, and there's a lot to it. It's a very, very difficult topic, but it's so fun. I used to be a malware analyst. And you can kind of look at the DLL, or not DLLs, the function calls here, and get a general understanding of what the malware has the capabilities to do. Not necessarily what it will do if you execute it in a sandbox, but what capabilities it does have, right? So when you're executing malware in a sandbox, when you're detonating it, it's going to do what it's going to do. It doesn't mean it's going to run through all its functionality that it has available. It may not do anything because the environment isn't what it's looking for. So whenever I write malware for testing purposes only, kids, it is typically looking for specific things in the environment before it executes. And this is usually my environment, whoever I'm writing it for, because I don't want it to detonate outside of that environment. So I scope it in on the system. So in order, theoretically, right, in order to get it to work, you may have to change the domain of the sandbox you're on, or the host name, something like that, to actually get it to detonate. And even then, it may still not run through all of its functionality before the sandbox terminates the execution. I understand also that this is probably pretty foreign to you. If you're new to the world of cybersecurity, I should do a class on some basic stuff, just basic understanding of these types of things. But anyways, yeah, it's kind of like, think about it. You get a brand new car, right? You're like, oh yeah, this car can go 0 to 60. And you get in there, it goes 0 to 60. But what else can it do? You can roll down the windows. You can open the trunk. You can do all these things. But the first time you drive your car, are you actually using all the functionalities that are available? That's the same with malware. That's the same with tools. It may be there. It just might not use them when you're running it in the sandbox. So keep that in mind. These are just capabilities. So Git command line. Um, that's an interesting one. Let's see what else is in here. Find first file. So this is how it's probably searching for files on the system. Let's see, get current process ID. So if it's doing process injection or anything like that, it does have to perform that. Get environment strings. Let's see. Get proc address. That could be used for certain things. Same with some of these heap ones. Get standard handle. Let's see what else we got in here. Is debugger present? This is in a lot of stuff. A lot of people think this is like anti-malware. It can be. A lot of stuff just has it today, even normal code out there. You have to realize too that some companies who produce tools, binaries, they're going to put things in place to prevent people from analyzing their code to steal their copyright or their intellectual property, not their copyright. I was going to say copyrighted material, to steal their intellectual property. So it's just like your songs that you used to burn back in the day. There were things in place to prevent and protect the intellectual property. There, you were just bypassing it. Same here. Let's see. Handcaster, what you got? Been in the IT field for about 12 years. Wow, you've been in IT longer than I've been in cybersecurity, I think, at this point. I've been in just over 10 years in cybersecurity. Learning cybersecurity the last 6 months on THM and Pico CTF. Pico CTF is a really good platform. If you haven't heard of it, I think that's a Carnegie Mellon one, if I remember correctly. Really, really good stuff. So which is your favorite, Handcaster? Do you enjoy Pico CTF or THM better? Asking for a friend, also asking for the awesome people that will be listening to this later, probably, maybe a handful of people. Virtual alloc is another process injection thing that could be used. Write file. So this could have been used to write the readmes.txt. But yeah, so I just wanted to go through some of this stuff and kind of talk about it, even though it may be confusing, but it's interesting. I like the challenge. Nice. Yeah, I haven't done too much on Pico. I think I played around with it a little bit, but it came after my time, I guess my early career time, so I didn't ever get into it too much. Yeah, that's why I typically recommend THM too. So Handcaster is saying that THM is more hand holding and walkthrough based. Yeah, that's why I recommend it. Cybersecurity sucks early on because there's so much, there's so many things that can go wrong, so many things that can break. I'd rather people spend their time learning cybersecurity specifically than just fixing busted VMs all the time, like I used to have to. No, you're right. That's THM's thing, and that's kind of how they separated themselves from Hack the Box. Hack the Box traditionally were not handholdy at all. Now they do. Now they've added quite a bit to make it easier for people, but they were more like try harder OSCP style. You got to learn cybersecurity the tough way, which I enjoy that more than the handholdy stuff. But that's just me. I'm a glutton for punishment. Let's see, so many different routes to learn. If I didn't have a grasp on networking, I would be lost. Yeah, networking is a big piece of it. There's so many things. What are you trying to do, Handcaster? Are you trying to go SOC route, trying to do pen testing, GRC? What's on your roadmap? I'm over here just chatting about malware and stuff, and we're not even answering questions. So readme.txt is the file. And what was the command the attacker used to add a new user to the compromised system? We know that one as well. That should be over here. And we just go right before 05, 1305. So I think we said they created the user and then they executed the malware, but it may be the reverse. Let's see what our query is. Event code 11. So this is file rights. So we need to switch it up. Here we go. And we'll just go over here. All right. This is what we need. And here we go. What was the command? I think this is what they're looking for. Let's just make sure. Yep. That's the command. It is not the command. What was the command the attacker used to add a new user to the compromise? So maybe they're looking for net 1. Nope. Oh, this is the local group. Jeez, I'm half asleep. This is local group. We need net user. This is what we're looking for here. Oops, sorry, crew. There we go. That's correct. Let's see. Initial goal is pen testing, but I realize I have been doing the job of a SOC analyst for the last 2 years since we have no security team. Well, that's cool. You've been getting some SOC experience in. That's awesome. That's really good. I've heard quite a few people. There's someone in the Discord channel that kind of fell into cybersecurity. They were doing IT stuff in general. Then they fell into an audit GRC type role because no one else wanted to do it. They volunteered for it. So it's kind of cool. Fell into security experience. I did that too in my internship. I automated my job, which was creating accounts. I should not have done this, but I did because I wanted to do security stuff. So I automated my job and then I followed the security guy around to do stuff or learn networking, other stuff besides creating accounts. Yeah, that's awesome. So pen testing, Pico CTF, TryHackMe. So it has some really good labs. There's some really good Active Directory focused labs for you, which is a really good area to learn for pen testing. So that's awesome. Some really good stuff. Pen testing's fun. Our company did a massive layoffs. Oof, ouch. His company did massive. Well, their company did massive layoffs. It's terrible. I just saw some other companies were doing layoffs. I saw Capital One just did a bunch of layoffs for our Discover. Ouch. Well, thanks for joining. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Congrats and keep hacking away. Let us know what you learn next time. I like to keep track of people's journeys. Yeah, layoffs suck. Down economy, you can expect it for sure. But yeah, and you never know. I remember for a while I was talking to some other business owners or senior level people, and they were laying off senior people for junior people and paying for AI. And then they did that for a while and then found out the junior people weren't that great, even with AI, because it takes experience to really guide AI and develop code. And then they started laying off juniors, bringing back seniors, and they were, I guess, saving money again, but just had less juniors. So, like, the basically moral of the story, some self correction there, and then less juniors in the workplace because they had seniors who could do work faster and better with AI. It was a good time. Yeah, what a mess. What a mess. Let's see. The attacker migrated the process for better persistence. What is the migrated process? What is the original process image? when the attacker got on the system. Okay, so this is a fun one. So I did talk about process injection, and it looks like they migrated to a new process. So let's take a peek at this. So we know command.exe is the malware. We see it dropping notepad.exe. So let's see if we can build out a map of what the user was doing here with this ransomware. I've never investigated a Conti, so I am going in this brand new with you. So let's play. So we probably want to add a couple of things to this. So process ID and probably parent process ID, because we got to figure out we got to know hierarchy, but maybe not so much for the injection, but we should see something like a handle being obtained or something like that with this. But let's take a peek. Let's make sure I did it correctly here. We did. We could probably exclude something. Splunk stuff is what I was going to say. So we do need to make sure we're in order here. So we're counting up, right? We just need to know which direction we're on. So we see all this stuff going on, and then we should see command.exe kickoff, which we do at 13:05. We should see a new process at some point. Somewhere. We should see, I don't know if this is it. This is Windows Defender. So what we're doing is we're looking to see where the user may have migrated his process. Let's look around 13:05. I'm gonna keep this open so we have it. You'll see me duplicating. All right, that's easier. I have my screen turned now. I can see it. I'm such an idiot sometimes. All right, so 13:05. So we have that. We need to figure out process migration. Let's do a. We are going to do a stats count. Stats count by event ID. And I want to see what events we have. I probably should have, I think I cased it wrong. It's event code. Event code, not event ID. Event ID was the last lab we did. And I spelled that wrong. Here we go. And we need to get rid of event code at the front. Here we go. All right, so we got all these event IDs. I don't know what they're for. So we probably need to also add in the message. Let's see what the messages look like just to make sure they're good fields to key in on. Probably not. Let's try a different field. How about task category, perhaps? There's only 20 of those. Let's do that one. So count by event code, task category. All right, so this is going to help us at least have a little bit of a general understanding of what the field is or what the log type is. Because I don't know every log type. Sorry, not sorry, but this is enough, at least to help us in somewhat be able to key in on ones that we should care about. Because there's a ton. There's 821 logs total in this thing, and we can see that the goofy stuff, the net user stuff happens here. So .NET, Parent is 7408. Actually, let's do something else real quick. Let's narrow this down. So 7408. So we know this is the parent process, but we need to know what the we need to figure out what the parent process of this is. So we probably need to go back a little bit. Let's go to 1300. This should tell us if he actually migrated. So I need to go back a little bit further. So 12. It's probably way too much. Here we go. So this one is going to be 506. This is going to be 708. So he went from, this is the image executed command.exe, which is 7408. And 7408 executed this, all of these. So we should see, well, I could probably look for 5016 now. Let's see, let's do an OR in here. What I'm doing is just basically creating a hierarchy or a process tree in a very inefficient way. And we are attempting to walk this back until we can find who the parent process of this is. So this had to come from somewhere. And apparently, we have no clue. All right, let's see. We're just stretching out the time frame is what I'm doing here, so we can try to see what's going on. Because something should have happened around this time frame that kicked off this command.exe. So I think what I'm gonna do here, looking for what process. Yeah, I'm looking for what kicked off 5016, and it could be where, like, there's a lot of options to disconnect the process. WMIC disconnects, but we would have seen WMI somewhere in there. It could have also been where they utilize the service, the scheduled task, or something else to kick this off to separate that process tree in some way. So like something timed, so you would never see the two connected, which also happens. So there's a lot of things that a lot of things here that could be possible. Is what I'm getting at. Sitting here digging. I'm like boring people that are leaving because we're looking at process IDs. You're welcome. Welcome to the SOC world. Okay. So what I want to do though is I'm going to go to the earliest event here, and we're going to do a 15-second look around. That should be plenty. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep it on the host. We're going to say, oops, we're not going to cut all that off. We're going to get rid of the process numbers because we don't necessarily care. We're just looking for any event on this host within 15 seconds of this initial event. And maybe we'll luck up and find something that'll help us out. So here's our event here. This is command, and we want to see what happened beforehand. So let's see. Was it 15? What did we say? 1506? No, 1254. All right, so we have 1254. Let's see if we can find that over here. 1254. That did not help me at all. What is it? 1254 and 46 seconds. 1254, 46. 1254, 46. All right, so let's include all of this here. And we're just looking for something that looks suspect. So we see some web requests up here. So that's kind of interesting. Ooh, that's the oddest sneeze ever. So basically what we haven't identified, we've seen command.exe executing. We know that's Conti. We don't know how Conti got on the system. It's a web server. So there's been plenty of exchange attacks. Excuse me. Even SolarWinds had some issues early on. Besides, like the SolarWinds whole thing, there's a lot of intel talking about like attacks focused on the web application piece itself, like the Outlook, how they would get persistence. So, anyways, regardless, we need to find a way of initial access is what's still on the board that we don't know about. And we still have to find that. Let's see what other types of logs. 4648. What is 4648? Excuse me. Okay. Sorry, I was flipping through this to see 4624. This is authentication. We don't care about 4624s. Me too. I like Splunk too, Ghost. My voice is getting dry from talking now. What we need to kind of do is start filtering out stuff we don't really care about. I don't care about authentication logs at the moment. So we could probably get rid of those. We're trying to figure out we're trying to find the initial access for Conti is what we're looking for. But we don't know yet. I think that's what we're supposed to. I know we haven't found it, but attacker. Oh, we were looking for migration, but I wanted to find initial access too. So that's me. I'm just coughing up a storm right now. Here's a who am I? So maybe this is like the classic. You get a shell, who am I? And this was at 12:54:49, which occurred. We also have an IP config, which is another fun little indicator. And this came from 312 here. So this is kind of interesting, right? We do see some additional ones. Yeah, we could do that, but I was expecting. It looked like there was some fun little web application logs stuff related to the to Outlook, and so I was trying to see if there was anything like it came in, like there's an exploit on the web Outlook server itself or what. I didn't know, so I was just kind of looking around to see if we could see that because I just don't know. There's so many different log varieties on this one, and I don't remember them. So I was looking through for stuff like that. We can get rid of this one as well. There we go. So only 27 events now. I was just getting rid of log types I didn't care about. Log off, we don't care about log off either, actually. Let's get rid of that one. Exclude from search. There we go. Down to 15. Let's see what this is. Event code 1. This is process create. So we could just look at general processes here. I don't know that that's going to show us the exploitation, but it may. We also have IPs here. Rule name alert Metasploit. Really? Wonder if that's real. What is this? 3s? Threes are your network connection events. Those are pretty interesting. What's cool about these, a lot of people don't realize, is that these are network events, so we can connect the network connection to a process ID, which allows us to then move to tracing the connection to a process chain, which is very useful. Most people don't know that though. Destination port 444. Here's another one. Let's see if it does the same. This is kind of interesting. And sometimes, like I will say, a lot of times in the real world, you can't really believe these network rules. Like there's such a high false positive rate with those. It's very annoying, to be honest. So I'm not particularly super excited, and it could just be triggering that based off of the port, but it could also be using the port. Who knows? But I'm about to go with Ghost's suggestion, and we'll just do a fun little process look in a second. So he shouldn't really be doing anything weird with credentials at this point, because we saw that they created a new account. So he wouldn't have the actual credentials. He'd have to do some additional work, the attacker, to get those creds, especially if they did not land as an administrator. Even as an administrator, they would have to do some work to get them. So, all right. So let's do this. I'm going to keep this just because I'm a hoarder of tabs. We're going to do event code equals 1. We're going to do that. We have all this tabled out, image, command line, all that. That should give us some fun stuff. And let's spread out our time frame just a hair before. And we'll go look and find what we know or what we're pretty sure is bad. And then we'll continue to walk backwards. So this is about 20 seconds apart here. And this is just Splunk. So what we don't see is where this came from. So this is the 51.6, and I think we saw this earlier. Yeah, we did see this earlier. So we still don't know how it got on. We still don't know how it migrated from one process from another. So 15.540. What we could probably do is look to see if there are any other suspect commands around this time. And if they're in a different process, then we can pick up our trail again. Because process injection, if there is a process injection, like they did a process migration, then we would not see a connection between 5106 or 7408 to this new process, because there will be a disconnect. There's not a nice, gentle chain to trace. So we will see a disconnection there. Just something to keep in mind in case you didn't know how that works. So let's eliminate this process, because that one had a ton of them, and we may have screwed ourselves slightly. Maybe not. We'll see. Especially if they injected in a Splunk process. It's okay though. A lot of bad guys, they'll inject into like Explorer, Firefox, into any kind of browser, because it kind of hides their beaconing. And it's simply because with the browser, it's always going to the internet, so it just looks like normal internet activity. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know if you know that. It's pretty interesting. Let's see. Let's add Let's just go to 13 here. And again, we're just looking for odd events that we can say, hey, they migrated to a new process after this point. So here's an NS lookup that's not necessarily bad. Sometimes we see this happen in the background. So not necessarily bad, but so we still got 5936. So we need to increase a little bit further. Yeah, there is a create remote thread, but the problem is we may not have that available. We can give it a go. I'm not used to seeing that because they're super noisy for the most part. But we can give it a shot. I'm down. I'm down. Let's see. Remote log on. Probably be under maybe message. This is a huge message. Let's try thread instead. I'm keyword searching right now. Let's see if this is it. This is service discovery. Service. So no remote thread. Womp womp. Good idea though. Yeah, I don't really see those very often. They're super, super noisy. Same with DLL loads. I never see those in the real world because they're so noisy. I was working in a customer's environment when I tried to do a little engineering one time back in the day, and I turned on the DLL loads, and I instantly exponentially increased the amount of logs that were coming in. So, like, I'm not talking about like 10 times. I'm talking about 1,000 times more logs than we normally got by just turning that on a single system. I was like, yep, won't ever turn that on again. I learned my lesson, turned it right off, and never did it again. Sad times. So 7408. I wonder if it'll give us a hint at. So this is the migrated process image. That's interesting. Yeah. I was like, sorry, my bad. We were trying to figure out how to get more visibility in the environment. Yeah, we got more visibility, but there's no way we could have scaled that to the size of the network. It was just not happening. So we're looking at stuff with commas in it, or we're looking for stuff with commas in it. I've never heard of relog. That mean it's not. That mean it's bad. Just never heard of that one. Let's extend this out a little bit further. I'm not seeing a migration in here. So we see like this is all us here, 7408. This is kind of common. So I'm not, I mean, this they may be considering this NetSH thing bad, but this is pretty common in an environment. Scripts from our admins will do similar stuff to this in pretty much every environment I've been in. Let's make sure we don't have any bizarre filters that are kind of screwing us over. We don't really, and we still only have 13 events. This is kind of wild. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'm not sure what I'm expecting to see with a process migration. I mean, theoretically, you don't even need a command line to see or to do a process injection. You wouldn't actually see the process injection in a command line because you're doing direct API calls, which don't trigger a new process. Direct API calls are from a current process. So it's not bypassing the um, the process creation. It just isn't creating a new process, so therefore it's not being logged. So really, we wouldn't see it unless, I mean, really, we wouldn't see it. Trying to think where else we might see a migration occur. We could probably do the network connection one. And a network connection to a weird site could indicate that it's reaching out. But typically, ransomware itself may or may not reach out regardless, because it's their encrypting stuff. And typically well, maybe it does. I was going to say they typically use other tools to do the exfil, if they do exfil. Not all of them do exfil, so it all stays on the system. But it does have to send the key. It probably would have to send the key out. Like Lockbit has 3 keys, encryption keys that it has, one for each unique file, one for the system, and one for the campaign, I believe. Or it may just be 2. But every file has a unique encryption key that's encrypted with the host key and appended to the end of the file. Very weird. I only know this because I emulated them 1 year during a purple team thing. Okay, so I'll shut up. Let's see. Oh, maybe we could see this security ninja guy, but that wouldn't be a process migration. I may be interpreting this process migration too literally. But let's go ahead and duplicate. Let's look at our event code 3s on this host. And let's see what we find. We're gonna have to redo our tabling probably. Let's see. Let's see what other things in here. We probably want to grab. We have process ID. We probably want source IP, destination IP. Probably destination IP and destination port is all we want. Destination IP, destination port. And we should get a beautiful little table. So this is a target, and we would expect like an odd target to occur. So remember, it was what, 1305 roughly is when the ransomware triggered. And we're not quite there. All right, here we go. So should be starting up here. We should see something that says 10.10.6. There's a 10.10.4. Here we go. So 10.10.4 is potentially bad because we know command.exe is not good. So let's see if we can hone in on destination IP equals 10.10.4. Potentially. Let's see what else we have here. Event code 3 is HTTP event collector and Splunk. No, so this is just network connection, and you can tie it back to a process ID, which is what you see here. So you can see the destination, and you can see what process ID is doing the connection. So it's a good way to tie a process create to a network event itself. So they're pretty cool. I don't see any other 10.10.04 events. So let's, yep, all network connections. They're a really cool way to do stuff. I am going to just search for this IP. We got to put in quotes because the periods are considered delimiters in Splunk, I believe, or wildcards, one of the two. Let's see. Sent address to server. So it could just be that it was doing a DNS query with this, because I just see a bunch of DNS logs here. LDAP, all DNS. All DNS. So I don't. So this is the event here that we're looking for. Here's our command.exe 10.10.10.6 85. So this is SMB. So it's targeting a file share, perhaps. So this may be lateral movement here. And what are we looking for? What is the web shell the exploit deployed to the system? Attacker migrated. We should be able to see all this on this host as long as they didn't migrate. What is the command line that executed this web shell? All right, so this is what I was talking about too, where I was seeing in the real world Exchange servers they were putting in web backdoors so they could get right in, even if they updated or whatever the web server, they would still have a backdoor in there and they could log right in. And the funky thing with web server, like web backdoors, like China Chopper and stuff like that, is that it doesn't matter if you reset credentials, right? It's just a shell, and all they have to do is connect to it. They get right back in. And that's a mistake a lot of admins will make too, is where they're just trained to reset credentials when there's a breach, and not understanding if that's actually going to work for them. And it's not in this case, right? So, like, let me give you an instance, right? So we have this. I don't know how they got on yet, but we see that they created a backup user, so persistence with a malicious user or just a new user account in general. So they may be able to log in by that. Well, if an admin was able to identify that and not the web shell that was added, they would just remove the account and expect that the investigation is over. However, all they have to do is now is to log back in through the web backdoor, web shell, and they can just do it all over again. So that's what I mean by that. All right, so we won't be able to finish this tonight, but they still have a way in. Double persistence, which is what they teach you. That's it. So we won't be able to finish tonight, but this was fun. I'm glad we finally got into found another Splunk room. This is a cool one. I didn't know they had a Conti room. So if you're curious, if you want to go in and finish this, it's just called Conti. An exchange server was compromised with ransomware. Use Splunk to investigate. Pretty cool one. Go check it out. It's a medium one, but it's a good way to practice your Splunk skills if you're learning. It'll be good for you, Handcaster, if you haven't done a lot of Splunk. Definitely a good way to practice some of those skills. But feel free. Looks like we just had someone join in, but feel free to subscribe so you can know whenever I hop back on. We have a Discord server that you can hop on and hang out and chat. But I will be here most Thursday nights, 6 to 9 Eastern time. and just having fun hacking stuff. But let me know in the comments or in the server what you want to do next time, and we can have some fun. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Philippe. Thank you for joining. Thank you for chatting, Handcaster. Have fun. And we'll see you next week, everyone. Bye.